Hi, Stephen. I'm Mark. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome and congratulations on your award. If you would tell us your full name, the title of the book, and the award that you won.
I'm Stephan Benediktson, and the title of the book is Wakeful Nights, and we won a silver today in nonfiction.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks
for taking time to be with us. You mentioned you're the publisher, but I'm going to ask you a few questions specific to the book, and we'll just work together and chat about some of the answers, particularly the inspiration behind the book. Can you share with us your knowledge of what that is?
Yes. This is a story it's a biography of a pioneer in America, United States and Canada. He was a pioneer and a literary academic philosopher, and he wrote his work in Icelandic. And this is the first time, he died in 1927, this is the first time that the English-speaking public has an opportunity to read the full story about this man and what he thought and his works. This is 85 years later after his death.
Interesting. But
we have Scandinavian academics that regarded him very highly in his time. There was, for example, Watson Kirkconnell in the 30s, and the president of Acadia University wrote an article in essay about him in the Toronto University Press, saying that at some point he thinks he'll be recognized as the foremost poet working in any language in Canada.
Interesting.
As well, there are monuments to the man for those that appreciated him at his gravesite in Alberta. There's a family cemetery. There's another in the park at the town where he settled in Alberta, Markerville. There's a monument there that was erected by the Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada in 1951. There's a monument on his homestead in North Dakota, Gardner, North Dakota, where there was an Icelandic settlement.
And the monuments, or these tributes, if you will, to the man, are they covered in the book, or is there something
No, there's very little about it. He was a very humble man, and the author, Vidar Hrenson, a scholar and an activist, respected this in him. And so these things are played down considerabely.
So tell us about the book, then, if you would. What makes the book stand out?
Really, it's a story about this Icelandic immigrant born in a poor farm in the north of Iceland in 1853, emigrated to the United States in 1873, settled first in Wisconsin. It wasn't quite right. I think it was, they're farmers and the big trees, no chainsaws, very difficult.
Yeah, a lot of work.
So one spring the group, and they're very clannish, the group sent the ladies and children on a train to North Dakota, and the men and boys drove the horses across.
Okay.
They lived in North Dakota for a number of years. Wasn't quite right. So in fact, in 1889, he immigrated to Canada, to Calgary. And they'd sent a scout, and he'd recommended land 100 miles north of Calgary, and that's where they settled. So this fellow Stephenson moves up there with a young family in 1889. No roads, no bridges, no Safeway store, no
right,
nothing, and carved the settlement out of the wilderness.
It's amazing.
It's just amazing, and they survived, and they did well, homesteading in 3 different areas.
And so is this a journal of sorts, or historical?
It's a biography.
Okay.
It's a biography, and also of his philosophy, because he studied the freethinkers of the time in North Dakota. And besides all this public work in the district in Alberta, starting a creamery and starting the school system, 8 children, in his spare time, he wrote
Right. There wasn't a lot of spare time back then with the
he
regard
wrote
to,
over 2,000 pages of poetry.
That's amazing.
No, but it gets better, Matt, because he was recognized in his time.
I'm really sorry. We have to pause for a second because this is hitting your mic. Sorry.
Can we twist the knob out a little bit, maybe?
No, I
okay.
just
So I'll help you pick it back up again. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so there's not a lot of spare time. He's homesteading. He's moving all over. He's now moved into an area which is even more rural than where he was, and he's working hard. He's raising his family. He's got a lot of children, and one of the amazing components here is that he has time to write over 2,000 pages of poetry.
Yes.
Please let us know more.
And further to that, Marky, he was recognized in his time. In 1917, he was invited back to Iceland on a speaking tour. So he gets on the train in this small town, Innisfail in Alberta, Canada, rides to New York, gets on a freighter, goes back to Iceland.
How did they find out about him and what he was doing?
Because it was just through the mails and through the people that appreciated his work.
The notorieties.
He had the first published work in Alberta.
Okay.
That was the Icelandic press printed his work.
Okay.
The Icelanders are very academic people. More bookstores per capita in Iceland
Well, that's
than
an
any other
interesting
country.
fact, really.
Yes, and they have the press. They're very literary. I once read a report, as an aside, by an English that toured Iceland in the 1800s, and he reported back to head office. He said, "What kind of country is this?" He said, "I go to a humble farm in the north of Iceland, and the farmer's reading Homer or the Bible."
Right. a little contradiction of sorts, but
Yeah.
not really if you think about it. I mean,
So he spent the summer of 1917 touring the island on a speaking tour.
okay.
And as I say, recognized at this time, but never been appreciated by the English-speaking community because they've never had access to really the story. We bring forward now the story. This is
Interesting.
the story,
Great.
his story, and it's
Have you had any reports or unique experiences from those who have actually had a chance to read it? Perhaps an example of someone who's been inspired by it or who has had a life-changing event because of it? Or can you share
No.
anything like that?
It's only been out for 6 months,
Okay.
and but whoever reads it appreciates it.
Good.
And I like it because it's a good read. I was a publisher.
We've talked about the inspiration. We've talked about a little bit of the history, why it was written, who it was written for, some of the unique experiences, what the award means to you, and subsequently to the author and everyone involved with the creation of what's virtually a masterpiece here, an award-winning masterpiece. Tell us where to from here. What's the next steps? Where are we going from here?
It seems as though there's always something. It continues. It lives on. The legacy lives on. He was a pacifist, for example, and he wrote all of these. He lived through two wars, the Boer War and the First World War, and he wrote these strong pacifist poems. Some say if they'd been in English, he'd probably been in jail, tried for treason. So there's his flagship poem is a 24-page poem called Battle Pause, and it's so interesting. The head of the music department in Calgary has written an opera to Vopadal.
That's going to be amazing, I'm sure.
There are these continuing things that, his family home, the home he built out in the prairies there, has been restored as a provincial historic site.
Great.
And it's open to the public during the summers. So the legacy sort of lives on, and we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have a opera dedicated to
I certainly hope so.
Stephenson.
Or another book or another 10 books. It's just wonderful. It's so great to meet you. Congratulations on the
Thank
award.
you.
Thank you for your time and all the best in whatever opera endeavors, book endeavors, whatever comes from this. I'm sure it's all going to be wonderful. Congratulations on the award.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for being
It's been
here.
such a pleasure to
You as
be
well.
here.
Thank you.